Thank you, Jan.
Chad, let me scroll forward on my screen here to introduce Absco.
You bet. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us again this morning. We do these about once every couple of months. I think last month or the last webinar was about access control. Today's is about advanced artificial intelligence in video surveillance, which we'll talk about. Absco Solutions, for those of you that don't know, has been around for 45 plus years. Have several offices throughout the Northwest, and we support Oregon, Idaho, Montana, Washington area. And we are industry-leading experts in physical life safety and security solutions. We really only focus on life safety and security, and we have been servicing clients for those 45 years, some of which who have been with us for over 30 years. Universities, K through 12, higher ed, PUDs, you name it, government, all three-letter government letters. So we are well-versed in this space, and we really find that we've partnered and spent our time partnering with who we feel are the best in class, the best in the business, the best at what they do, offer the best solutions. So you don't have to worry about that. We do that vetting for you. And Motorola Solutions has been one of our best partners, especially as of late. They've really started changing the game on what artificial intelligence and integration looks like in our industry. Really, nobody can touch what they're creating, and we're excited to show you an aspect of what their artificial intelligence, their award-winning, I should say, artificial intelligence looks like as well. So I guess that's probably enough about Absco. We'll move on to the next. Kind of blended that already, but the key personnel, we're about a 55, 60 company strong company, been around a long time. Some of our industry veterans have been doing this for 20, 30 plus years. We are well-versed in what we do, and we are experts. We like to take a partnership approach with our customers. So if you do business with us today, you should feel that partnership approach. We want to create a long-term relationship with you, and we want to provide value. And one of the ways we provide value is providing you this information, this up-to-date information. Our industry changes quite a bit quickly. So I appreciate you guys spending the time with us today to learn more about the latest and greatest with video surveillance and artificial intelligence. These are some of our account managers, our key personnel, our president, Tom Whitaker, John Harlow, our new director of sales and marketing. We're a great staff. We love to work together, and we love what we do. So I appreciate your time. So let's talk about the importance of video analytics in physical security. If you were to consider the cornerstones of security, video surveillance is definitely one of those. And unfortunately, well, I wouldn't say unfortunately, in today's world, we have options, and a lot of options. You go back 10 years, video surveillance was used for investigative purposes to find out what happened. And you were lucky to get a good enough shot of what that was. Who was it? What was the vehicle description? What was the vehicle's description? What was the license plate? What was the person wearing? Where was this? Could we see? That was the challenge 10 years ago. Today, things are drastically different. The challenge in today's world is that the people responsible for viewing video, usually security personnel, IT personnel, staff, admin, there's a lot less resources. There's a lot less people. We're not throwing money at humans. So we're really reliant on technology to provide us information. And with all the technologies that we have thrown at us all of the time, we are in a constant state of data overload. So our attention spans have been compromised. And there's a study that was put out, I believe it was by Google or Amazon, I can't remember now, but our attention spans, thanks to like the TikToks of the world, is minimized down to 10 seconds. We just lose interest. So if we're watching video screens in a SOC of sorts, or if we're trying to find detail, we just have a really hard time doing it. And this is where video analytics and artificial intelligence can really, really change that story. And we're going to demonstrate that today. These things solve operational bottlenecks and other workflow type things. So you add artificial intelligence to the human intention. Now the human attention can make decisions versus spending those minutes or hours investigating to figure out what's going on now or what just happened or what happened yesterday or last week. It's what's happening right now. Using artificial intelligence, we can now provide these types of solutions. Appearance search. Hey, if you understand what a human looks like and you understand size, height, color, can you tell me when this individual who appears like this, facial features, height features, age features, shows up on my property? So we'll demonstrate appearance search today. Facial recognition, that is a hot topic. It is something that some people and some industries and some cities and counties do not allow, but some do. And we'll see a lot of debate over this topic. So true facial recognition is me actually remembering you and giving you an identity. Different from appearance search. Appearance search is I know what you look like, although I don't know who you are. So we'll demonstrate both of those today. We may touch on focus of attention, which is one of Motorola's approaches to bringing you to the surface of what's happening right now, to bring your attention to situations that you have deemed a security risk. It cuts through all of the information and only shows you what's relevant, things that you've triggered as an alarm or an alert, and only shows you those things. LPR is pretty basic. You understand that. There is technology around that really helps you see all license plates, whether it's bad angles, bad lighting. There's actual license plate recognition cameras that can be utilized to enhance those features of the numbers and letters on license plates. That's a whole nother conversation, but we can certainly get in. We'll touch on that in a 30,000 foot view. Cloud connected. So we've got, we're going to talk on-prem today, but cloud offers many, if not all, of these solutions also. So if you have deployed cloud, some of these things will also benefit you, and especially if it's a Motorola product. But if you don't have that and you're interested in learning more about Motorola's approach, that's what today is for, and we can certainly follow up with you afterwards. So the purpose of AI is to maximize intelligence. So people who are viewing video can make decisions quickly based off of solid and reliable intel. That is what we're hoping to demonstrate to you today using several different approaches, several different technologies. And I'm excited to have Jeremy lead that for you. So I think I'm done. Is that right, Jen?
I've got a little video for you here.
Self-learning analytics play a key role in our end-to-end solutions to end users and integrators. The entire analytics market really allows people to do more with less. It allows them to leverage multiple cameras with less operator interface into them. It allows them to really start taking advantage of their solution as a proactive one that informs them when things happen and where it's happening. With self-learning analytics, it really takes things to the next level. Typically with analytics, what we found is they were challenging to install, very difficult to configure, and once configured, that was pretty much as far as it was going to go. With self-learning analytics, what they continue to do is evolve. So they're easy to install, easy to configure, and then they continue to evolve and grow, which ultimately provides the end user an even better experience and a more secure and proactive environment.
Avigilon Video Analytics let us be proactive versus reactive. Instead of just recording high quality image of someone actually trying to break in or steal something, we're actually able to prevent it. And by monitoring those video analytics, we've been able to provide solutions to our customers that have experienced a high number of thefts, have lost a lot of materials, and actually prevent that for their organizations, and do that a whole lot more cost effective than putting perimeter beams or additional sensors all around the property, and leverage their investment in cameras and utilize analytics at the same time. Video analytics from Avigilon has really put our company on the map in our market, and that's due to the publicity that we've gotten from actual apprehensions. We've had a lot of really high-profile incidents that have resulted in involving the fire department and the police department, and a very large-scale theft rings being broken up. And all of those were done by being proactive and actually deterring theft instead of just giving them the video of somebody who stole the product. And so video analytics, especially in an outdoor environment around the perimeter of buildings and in a monitored application, has really taken video surveillance for our company to a whole nother level.
So, let me introduce you to Jeremy. So for those of you that, it's still a little bit confusing because Motorola purchased Avigilon. So as you see Avigilon or Ava or OpenPath and all these brands, Motorola is purchasing the best in class product line and bringing them under a master umbrella with full integration. What's coming is pretty exciting, and we'll continue to provide that information as it's available. Today's presentation is using Avigilon's, which is being rebranded Unity, on-prem video analytics package. So that's what today's webinar is about. We did a cloud one a couple of months back as well, and we have that library saved if you would like to see that anytime, or certainly talk to one of your account executives if you have questions about that. But I will introduce you to Jeremy. He's been with Avigilon Motorola for many years, has been in this space for 20 plus years, and comes with a wide knowledge base and experience in our industry, and is going to demonstrate and show you what Avigilon/Motorola has to offer. Take it away, Jeremy.
Great, thanks, Chad. I'm gonna start sharing my screen here. And the first thing I'm gonna do is apologize. You guys are gonna have to bear with me. I'm not gonna start the slide deck and actually run the slide deck. I'm gonna leave it in this mode because it allows me to keep my taskbar. So appreciate everything you had to say there, Chad. It all made a lot of sense to me. What we're going to go over really, and how I'm going to present this information, is I'm going to do a couple of slides, and then I'm going to go right into the software and demonstrate what that looks like. Really, I think the biggest part of how, when you watch that video and what Chad was talking about, is Motorola is delivering a surveillance solution, or a video surveillance solution, that's going to allow you to consume video in a real time without being behind your operations center console. So you can view things mobilely through your applications, ACT Mobile 3 app, or if you're in an operations center or somebody that is behind a computer, you're getting relevant information in a consumable fashion, right? So it's enhancing the visibility and response times with artificial intelligence. But I would tell you that it's really more like assistive intelligence, right? We're trying to give your investment in that CCTV or video surveillance package real world application in near real time. So that's the difference between the primary investments that you have today and things that you can invest in, or that you invested in the past that you can invest in today. And all of this technology that we're going to show you today is available to be applied to some of your legacy investments. I would tell you that if your existing cameras are 7 to 10 years old and they have decent resolution, meaning you like what you see when you're playing back or watching live video, you can have these analytics applied to those cameras. And they don't have to be Avigilon cameras. They can be third-party cameras. They just need to be open and non-proprietary, which is just we call that ONBIB, which is an industry standard for streaming protocols. And then we can apply video analytics to your existing systems to give you these types of outcomes in near real time. So I'm going to scroll to the next slide here. Basically, we're going to talk a little bit about some of those challenges, right? And Chad referenced these challenges, right? It's the amount of information and the amount of resources available to receive that information, right? Most systems today are still being deployed in a fashion that is more reactive, where you're going in and investigating after the fact. Chad talked about it, right? Where you're, you know, what happened, what took place, what can we learn from this event to try and, you know, prevent it going forward. With analytics, what you're able to do is actually receive those real-time alerts and be able to get information, again, to your mobile device or out to specific groups through a lot of different technologies that are available to you. But, you know, it's basically being able to bring relevant information forward. So I'm going to go in and show you the software now, and I'm already logged into the software, but basically if you're familiar with Avigilon Unity software, basically have rights and permissions to access sites. Once you log in, you're brought into this screen. You've got basically live and recorded video. And then if you're logged into multiple sites, which I'm not, but I'm just logged into our Richardson demo site, you have the ability to drag cameras over and drop them in place. And you can see here, right, what we're really doing with video analytics is we're classifying objects. And that's kind of what this slide previously was talking about, which I'm not going to read all the slides to you, I'm going to paraphrase them. But you can see in some of these scenes, right, where if I bring this full screen, the technology is available today to basically capture all of the, I'm going to click recorded video to give you kind of an idea. If I click recorded video, and then I come over here and hit search, you can see I have all these different search parameters that I'm able to use to see information about what's gone on in that video. So if I come over here and just, let's just say, you know, typical motion-based search, that isn't necessarily using artificial intelligence. What that's doing is using motion-based event algorithms. But as you can see here, I'm able to go through on this particular technology, and you can do this with legacy third-party or existing cameras, but we can add this to it to classify a person, a vehicle, bicycle, car, motorcycle, bus, or truck, right? That's the power that we're talking about with having analytics available to you. And then the other thing what we're talking about is this here, which is, Chad referenced it, which is focus of attention. What we're doing with focus of attention is for those individuals that are behind a computer running a console or in a security operations center, we're bringing all of the relevant data from that assistive technology or from artificial intelligence that's monitoring all those camera views. So we're taking the real world and digitizing it and sending it to you in this format. And the way this format works is all these honeycombs represent different devices and technologies that you've deployed out there in your brick and mortar world. So these could be cameras, this could be access control doors, this could be all these different things. And when there's an event that takes place, you can see that in this ribbon, we're bringing those events. So teal represents basically an analytic detection, right? Which just basically means we're classifying an object, a person, a vehicle, a bus, car, bicycle, truck, all that fun stuff. But you have the ability to control what's being presented in this screen. So I can come through and I can say, I only want to see alarms. I'm not really interested in analytic events. That's great that analytic events are taking place or classifying objects, whatever it is. What I want to know is if that classified object has entered into an area that's deemed secure, right? So I can come through, and I'll show you this when I do some searches, that if a person enters this area and I set a parameter of, let's say, after 5 p.m. to 5 a.m., that is an alert and an alarm that really isn't supposed to be anybody in that area between 5 p.m. and 5 a.m. So bring that to my attention and it will show up in red and you will see that. And you can also get a notification on your phone, right? And then you can come in and you can check all these things. But you can see that we can do what we talked about before, which is all the analytic alerts and alarms. We can do face watch. So if you have individuals that, you know, I'll give you some context in that when I show you the video, but it might be somebody that, you know, you've let go from your business or somebody that's been there before. You know, in healthcare, we see this a lot where you'll have somebody that comes into the ER and they're just basically known to have violent outbursts, right? So if you have that individual's face and you know when they come through the doorway, that is an alert that you can populate and say just known to have violent tendencies, you can treat that person and educate the staff immediately that, hey, this person's on premise. These are our protocols for dealing with somebody that's had past, you know, a proclivity to be, you know, violent. License plate matches, motion detection, no face mask. These are all kind of COVID response, unusual activity detection. We'll go through all these things, but the nice thing is we're changing the way in which you consume these alerts, right? We're giving you a methodology to where you're not having to watch all your cameras. We're presenting the information for you to be responding in near real time. We're presenting the information that's most important at that to make good decisions. So that's focus of attention. The other thing is the alarms tab. So if you're behind a console on a computer, you can monitor all those alerts and alarms here as well. And then we also have a decision management engine that allows you to correlate all of that information and keep a chronological history of all those events. So they need to be acknowledged, or they need to have notes, or do all these different things. So it's kind of an all-encompassing technology platform for you to manage and then report on all of your information after the fact, right? And it's all searchable as well. So the next slide, then I'm gonna go back to slides really quick, right? So that's really what we're talking about when assistive AI technology is there. It's classifying objects, being able to look at a scene and presumptively or know these are the parameters that are important. If these things happen, I want to receive an alert, an alarm, a text message, something via my mobile device, right? And then you can quickly, respond to those situations and make good decisions. So, real security events that may go unnoticed, right? So the first thing is just kind of unusual motion detection. And unusual motion detection, I haven't touched on it all, but I'm going to go back to the software and I'm going to show you a little bit. First, I'm going to get out of the alarms tab. I'm going to get out of this motion-based search. I'll probably close down focus of attention. We'll just go back to a kind of a live view, right? And I'm going to go back to a live view with all 4 cameras. But to give you an idea of what we're talking about with unusual activity detection, all I'm going to do is go back into recorded mode again. So I'm going to hit this record button and you'll see that we're going to go into recording. And if I scroll out on the timeline bar, it brought us into October 10th of 2022, which we don't really want. But if I scroll all the way out and get to real time to where we're at, so we're looking at kind of a chronological histogram here. If you're not familiar with the timeline bar, all I'm doing is scrolling in and out on the timeline bar and I can adjust what I see, right? So when I come in here, the other thing I can do is you can see there's this button here, right? And I can click unusual activity. And when I click this button, you'll see that the timeline bar has just changed, right? And unusual activity is only available on a certain series of cameras. It's our H5A series of cameras. But if I come in here, you can see these kind of red, I don't know how well it's showing. Yeah, it's showing up pretty well on the screen there. You can see these kind of red bars, right? And if I just keep scrolling in on these red bars, the red bars actually bring to attention these unusual activities, right? So if I turn this off again, right, you'll see all this red is recorded video, but it's just recorded video. That means we've recorded it based on motion or recorded it based on activity. But if I want to look at what really happened that was unusual, right? So I can click on this, and now all of that recording that we've done over that time frame has been distilled down to things that are unusual based on anomalies, right? So I can say based on direction, right? So if I have an in and an out where egress or people aren't supposed to be going out that way, or people aren't supposed to be coming in that way, and it's unusual for a vehicle to drive through there, that would be unusual activity, right? Same thing with speed. If I have a set parameter of speed and people aren't regularly breaking that speed, right? So if people are doing somewhere between 15 and 30 miles an hour pretty regularly, and somebody comes through at 65, that would be unusual or an anomaly, right? And it would be filtered out and we can distill it down. Same thing with location, right? So if I have a big scene, right, and there's normally not activity that's happening across that, and this can be specific to, again, those classified objects, a person, a vehicle, a bicycle, a bus, a truck, all those things. So let's just kind of go in and find one. I'm just going to scroll in on one that we've got. We're going to go, I don't know what's going to happen here. We're going to find out. Keep scrolling, and I'm just keeping on that red kind of tab here. So it's on, you can see here, these are the list of the 4 cameras I have, right? It's on this 40 megapixel camera. It happened on Sunday, September 3rd. And if I keep scrolling in, I can go all the way into the timeline, but I can tell you this is where that camera is, and I'm going to bring it full screen. And really what's unusual about this is just probably the time, right? On Sunday afternoons, and by the way, this system is in Texas, we don't normally have individuals probably walking through this empty part of our parking space, right? So if I hit play on this, you'll see that once he comes into the screen, it turns red and I'm seeing this activity, right? So at this point, I might say, well, I don't necessarily need an alert and an alarm on that, but I did want to bring it to my attention, right? So I can see that, hey, this happened. But let's go a little step further. And I'm jumping a little bit ahead on the presentation technologies that we're going to talk about. But if I scroll into this view, what you're going to see is HDSM, which is high definition stream management. I'm just streaming across Absco's Wi-Fi network. There isn't a lot going on here. It's a typical Wi-Fi network. This is just a standard laptop. There's no expensive hardware required to use this technology. And that's HDSM is a patented technology that allows us to do all these things. And you're seeing a really responsive solution from across another network. This site is in Texas, right? But I'm able to stream multiple cameras, one of them being a super high resolution 40 megapixel camera, and I'm able to search this data and video. But another thing I'm able to do is if I come in here and I say, well, it's unusual for that person to be here, where else did they go on my property, right? Like I want to know where this individual was. So I can literally just left click on that individual in the scene and say, find their appearance before this or after this, right? So let's just see where this person was. So if I click this before, what it's going to bring me into is an appearance search. So this is a way for you to, with appearance search and recorded video, if you've got something you're reviewing, you want to know where were they throughout the rest of the facility, you can quickly do that, or where were they before. You can kind of see these timelines, and it brings up this histogram. And basically this histogram is running at, what is that, 15-minute increments. So I've got 241 to 256. These are my highlighted times. But when I left click on that individual and go in here, you can see this is my image, and this is the image of him here in this really large scene. And then I can actually see that this is a 40 megapixel camera. This is our 4 megapixel camera. So he's on a different part of the property here. And the more I click on this individual, the better the analytics or assistive technology is going to hone in on the person that's in this scene, right? So here he is on a 16. And then the other thing that's happening is down here, I'm actually creating again a way to track where this individual was across my property, right? So this is the scene that I first caught him in, which is in the 40 megapixel. And then I've got these ones. And once I have all of the information that I may need, whether this is really just reviewing, hey, this is where he was, or look, he went somewhere else and did something else, to even somebody else's property, or I can just come over and I can export all of those start events. So essentially I've been able to find with this technology where this individual was across our entire portfolio of cameras, right? Really quickly, right? Just by seeing an anomaly event that took place and going in and saying, where was this individual, right? So that was really just giving you kind of a context for what we're doing with classified objects and how classified objects really work, right? And unusual activity as well, right? So we can base this information and find what's relevant at the time, right? So another challenge that you're going to see is just, again, detecting individuals, right? This goes back to facial recognition and trying to better understand if there's somebody that's been on premise before. You don't have to keep a record of, this is their date of birth and their name and do all these different things that get into HIPAA compliance or get into, GDPR and all of that privacy concern. What you can do, and I'll go in and I'm going to run a video really quickly to kind of show you what it is. You can take existing video that you've recorded, right? Like if I have a point of entry and this person's been on the property, I can basically save an image and crop an image and upload an image of them. And then when I come in here and do a search, right? So let's just come over here and do basically, if I say appearance search again, I can upload an image and I can find those people as they've come across the property. On this, we don't allow our site to do demos of facial recognition. So I've got another video I'm going to run here that kind of shows what this looks like, but I'm going to minimize some screens and I'll show you exactly, and I'll walk you through what's happening. So this is our software. This is one of our sales engineers. And I'm just going to hit play on this video and kind of walk you through what I was showing you, right? So he's basically going to upload some images of himself. Whoa, there it goes. So here he is. He's taking existing video like I was talking about. He's grabbing a screen capture of his face, and he's going to, give a short description or a long description of why we're keeping this individual's appearance and face. And then he's going to load that into our watch list, and our watch list will be able to alert us, right? So here's his list of watch lists. He's got Agent 0013 or 0013. He's got a band person. He's got a couple of, different other individuals, Doc Watson, that he's brought in there. And once he saves those individuals in here and he creates basically a watch list, when anyone comes on camera, you're going to see that it's going to, through focus of attention and through alerts and alarms, be able to bring up that to the operator's attention or send an email or create an alarm that you can manage through your phone or manage through the software, right? And he's going to go through in a couple of different fashions, right? So here he is wearing a hat. At first, he just came through without the hat. I believe he comes through in glasses next. So it's just kind of showing you how well this solution can work. But I do want to point out, this is being done on a 2 megapixel camera, right? So, it's a 2 megapixel H5A. So you don't really need super high resolution to accomplish this, but I'd also want to point out that he's relatively close to that scene, right? So facial recognition, you want to have technically 60 to 80 pixels per foot on target, which just basically means if you're trying to capture it in a really wide scene, I wouldn't expect great performance. What you're going to want to do, what I recommend, is somewhere between 6 and 8 megapixel resolution in a scene in a doorway that's no bigger than a 10 by 15. So, if that makes sense for what you're trying to accomplish, we can come out and visit the site and talk to you exactly how that technology will work. But you can see here that, he's come through in a mask, he's come through in glasses, he's come through in a hat, and it's finding him and matching him against the watch list. And that could be that precursor event that lets you know to alert staff around that person and maybe escort them off property, any of those things, right? So that's pretty much what we have for facial recognition to kind of demo it, because we don't have it in our demo environment that's available. Plus, I don't have the horsepower to run it on my laptop because I'm doing everything from my laptop. Another part of information, so that's facial recognition. We already kind of demonstrated this, but if you have the ability to classify objects, you have the ability to search through hours of recorded video and maybe not even be searching through it, but just receive those alerts and alarms, right? So I think I don't have to go into what this slide is, but what I want to do is kind of go back in and show you some some appearance search, right? So, if you're looking for suspicious events and different things that are going on, you have the ability in the system. So if I come back here again, I'm just going to go back to live video. The first thing I want to kind of show you is, let's just say that, you get a notification that, within the last 24 hours, or 24 hours ago, or sometime between whatever time frame, somebody came through and that you only have a physical description. They were wearing a red shirt, and maybe they let an employee, do something they shouldn't have done, or whatever it was, they confronted somebody on the premise, whatever you're trying to find out, you can come back in and you can hit recorded video. And then I can do basically just a search, and I'm going to do an appearance search, and I'm going to say, I'm looking for a person. I don't really know what their gender was. I don't have their hair color. I don't have their age. But if you had all those things, those are personal characteristics you can search by. But let's just say the only thing we had was a description of their clothing. We're going to say that their clothing was upper body was red. And then we have a time frame to search from. And let's just say that we know that it happened sometime in the last 48 hours. So we're going to say from September 5th through September 6th, from 12 a.m. to 12 a.m. So it's basically one day. And I'm going to hit search. Oh, and by the way, I'm doing this across, again, all of the cameras on this portfolio. So when I hit search, or this site, I'm given back kind of all these time frames to look through. And if I move through these time frames and say, well, I know that I want to start with a block of time between let's just say 6 a.m. because they said that was when they arrived. here's everybody between 5:30 and 6 a.m. that was wearing red, right? And I can scroll through all these events and say, what other description was I given? Maybe it was not only were they wearing red, but they were wearing a baseball hat, right? So now I can click on this individual, and again, top to bottom, left to right, it's bringing me back everybody that's wearing red and has this baseball cap and this individual, right? So I can star all these items and find this individual across all of the camera parameters. Again, when I'm starring these items, it's basically creating that kind of profile of exactly where everything took place. And I'm going to be able to export that. So that's a simple way just to say, if you've got a base description and you're being more reactive than proactive, you can quickly search through hours of video and find this information. This is applicable even beyond just individuals and people, right? So if I came back through and we're going to do another recorded search, but we're just going to say, I'm looking for the appearance of a vehicle. I expect something went wrong with your ACC client. Well, that might be my laptop. So I'm going to restart, and we'll get to show you exactly once I log back in what went on there. So you get to see me log in. So I'm going to log back into Richardson. And once I'm logged back in, what I want to do is just drag over those cameras that we kind of had up before. So I know we had the 40, we had the point of entry for the property, we had a license plate, and then I believe we had the parking lot. The 6 megapixel for the parking lot. I think that's kind of what I had over there. So here's live video. If I come back to recorded, and then I do that same thing, we're going to do a search, parent search. And this time, let's just say we have a description of a vehicle, like somebody drove through the parking lot and hit somebody's car, or somebody stole a car, or whatever it was, and you need to find that vehicle. So we're just going to click on vehicle. We're going to select a time frame. We'll just go back to time frame. We'll bring it up to current time. So we'll just say, again, something in the last 48 hours. So we're looking at 12, and then we'll go forward to what time it is now. And if I do that across all the cameras, if I do something wrong with that search, 9596, looking at, it's not giving me the ability to search that. Let's see. I might have to, my client might be experiencing a small issue there. Yeah, because we're not pulling up history either.
Wouldn't be a demo without something like this.
Yeah.
Hey, really quick, for those of you who are questioning that bottom right camera, so a true LPR camera is actually black and white. It is not a full color recorded video. It's created that way on purpose, and it is to alleviate some of the complexities that come with color, where it's really focused on that plate, and we can do some really amazing whitewashing technology in those LPR cameras. So that's why a true LPR camera, not just the license plate recognition, but being able to actually see in complex environments. That plate will generally requires a black and white camera.
Yeah, so let's transition to license plate recognition real quick, and I'll just kind of run you through what that looks like. So I'll bring this one full screen. And if I come over here to recorded video, what you're going to be able to see is I can do a quick LPR search. And basically, the first thing I like to do with LPR is just leave it blank. So I'm looking at recorded video history, right, going back, and I can type in a license plate. So what we're doing is we're capturing the license plates through object character recognition, and then we're creating a database, and that database can become a watch list and searchable, right? So I'm just going to leave it blank, and I'm going to say, let's just see what license plates came through, right? So once I hit search, you can see that really quickly it came back with 10,094 results, because I have a ton of time selected across here. And if I narrow that down, you can see that I can research that, and we'll come back with a more manageable amount. We still got, 10,000 results, because I guess I'm going through all of that. But if I click on some of these events, what you're going to see is it's saying GBJ0888. And if I digitally zoom in, you can see that it's pretty accurate, right? It's giving me this information. And then if I wanted to see, well, how many times did that particular plate come in? Or if I know a part of the plate, I can type in some of those parameters and then I can hit search and we'll narrow down those results to just all the GBJs, right? So you can see this person's probably an employee and they've come through many times, and I can click through these events. And right here from these events, if you're really not that familiar with ACC, I can export these events, I can bookmark this event, I can do all these things. But that's the power of having license plate recognition. And so to give you context for how that might work for you, like in education, what we see is, you know, if you've got a student that you've maybe expelled or that isn't supposed to be on campus and you have that parking pass and the license plate, you can quickly be alerted. Or if you've got somebody that's been trespassed from any one of your locations and you're able to capture those plates, we see that in the casino, vertical, and gaming markets. In the healthcare, we see it in a different type of application where maybe they want to prep an operating room and they know that the surgeon has just arrived. So he's pulled into the parking garage and they have his plate and then they start preparing his operating room in 20, 30 minutes and moving the patient into the room, and he comes in and washes his hands and gets right to work, right? There's all kinds of different ways to apply these levels of technology and get information out of the systems. So that was real quick on LPR. Yeah. All right. The last thing that I'm going to kind of go over, I'm going to play one more video. So you can cloud connect all this information. And the one that I'm going to play is just basically occupancy counting, right? So occupancy counting can be beneficial from the standpoint that if you have thresholds for occupancy, you might want to receive alerts and alarms and notifications. So this is actually a person configuring and setting it up. It's a technician from another partner of ours, where he's walking into a convenience store, and you can see when he walked in, the occupancy count that they've set was 14. So, you know, and there actually might be somebody else in the store. I think there actually is. But when he walked in, they're counting down to say that, okay, when we get to 1, we want to receive an alert because we're going to have a signage that says no more admittance, and a red light comes on and nobody else is going to be allowed in. All right, but you can see that when this next individual walks in, it's going to go from 13 down to 12, right? And then looks like there's another person back there. But either way, what we're really doing is creating an occupancy count, and that could be beneficial during COVID response. So here's a person that's going to leave, and you'll see that when she exits the facility, it's going to go all the way back to 13, right? So you're basically just keeping a threshold occupancy. And Jen wanted me to open it up for questions, which is probably better than listening to Chad and I ramble on and talk. So hopefully we have some questions.
Feel free to unmute yourself and ask any questions you may have.
Can that occupancy setting there be just for a certain part of the scene, or is that to encompass the whole scene?
It can be set however you want it to be set for the entire scene, right? Because what we're really doing is setting it with a boundary, right? So you can do objects in and objects out. If I share back my screen, I can kind of show you a bounding box and give you a context for that. But yes, it can be in a general area or specifically on a doorway, right? There's 2 different thought processes there, right? So if I come back and share my screen, give me 1 second. If I come back and share, I gotta do the entire screen. So if I bring this back and we go back to just live video and we bring up this 40 to give you context, if I come in here and do recording, the same way that I do the searches. So if I come over here and hit search and I do motion, this is how you actually configure alerts and alarms. So you would go into the camera user interface and you would draw this bounding box. And basically what you're saying inside this scene is, let me know when objects enter and exit. And so if you wanted to know or set a threshold that there's only supposed to be 5 vehicles in here, you could count those 5 vehicles and know that, okay, there's 5, 1 leaves, there's 4. And you can see all that through the counting application in our cloud. And then the other same context with people, right? This is just the way that, you know, classifying objects works, right? There's a lot of thought processes you can put into it to create unique things. So yes, you can do it by the scene or, you know, specifically a point of entry.
And that would be similar to add to that, you know, if you can draw a line around your perimeter in a large scene. Hey, if somebody comes from outside to inside my perimeter, my fence line, or even imaginary fence line, between the hours of 7 p.m. and 7 a.m., then set a bookmark it for me to review tomorrow so I can see who it was, or send me an alert. I mean, there's countless things you can do with all of the options they give you. There was a question from Vlad, it looks like, Jen.
Where'd my chat go?
Will integration with Splunk be implemented for non-cloud-based solutions?
Integration with Splunk for non-cloud-based solutions. I'm gonna have to make a note on that and better understand the context of that question. So integration with Splunk for non-cloud-based.
I know this customer has ACM and they have a XML integration license for Splunk, because Splunk is a data pool of information. So, well, yeah, we can get some more information from you, Vlad, and certainly answer your question. Could certainly offline that.
Any other questions? Feel free, guys.
So, Jeremy, you know, in the world of, you know, if anybody goes to a large security conference, they're going to see 5,000 tables of people saying they have analytics.
Yes.
So what makes this Unity, Avigilon, Motorola solution a different consideration? Is it better? How would you address that question?
Yeah, what I tell customers is really what you want to know when you're vetting those types of technologies or vetting new entrants or looking at emerging technologies or emerging companies for that matter, is there's a lot of good technology out there. But Motorola and Avigilon have been a leader in our space for the last 10 years. And I can tell you this goes all the way back. I've been doing video surveillance and security since 2000. And I remember doing systems. I always relate people to stories, right? Because you know, whether they're a new practitioner or somebody that has the same level of I do, I remember when analytics were a challenge, right? You heard it a little bit in that video that you played, right? Configuring them was really challenging. Getting them to be accurate and positive was really challenging. And we've removed all of that barrier to entry. You have to understand that Avigilon has been doing classified objects since 2016. And what you're seeing now is there is a new level of entrant that is able to use and do some things similar to what we were doing 5-6 years ago, right? So but what you really want to do is test some of those technologies and see it. So we'll come out and we'll set up a test shot and we'll capture the video, and you know, we'll work with our partners to deliver an outcome that's actually going to be accurate. And I challenge the others to do that in all those environments, and you can do all the kind of independent testing. But I would tell you that having somebody that's innovative and that's a leader in the space, right? And that's exactly what Motorola has been for the last 4 years of ownership in Avigilon, and Avigilon has been for the last 14 years.
Yeah, I feel like accuracy of intel is the big differentiator. I mean, I deal with lots of customers who actually hate their intrusion systems because there's so many false alarms. Like, can we just rip this out and not use it? I mean, I've heard people say that because it's the boy who cried wolf. You just don't pay attention to the alarms if they're not accurate and not relevant. And I think that's where Avigilon and Motorola are different.
Yes, I agree 100%. And then just, you know, in today's world, having all of it at the fingertips on your mobile device, I mean, that makes all the difference in the world, right? Because not everybody has operators behind a console or in a security operations center. It's great if you do. I mean, we offer, again, that focus of attention. But for somebody that, you know, could be a school administrator or whatever it is, and it's after hours, and all you really want to do is get a notification that a student or somebody's just accessed your roof line, right? That's another kind of funky scenario that's happened, right? The real world customer things, right? And you can quickly get a notification that just says, oh yeah, there's kids up on the roof of the whatever gym. It was a gym. So, or another one was like, oh, there's kids out on, or well, I shouldn't say kids. There's a vehicle out on the football field. We shouldn't have vehicles out on the football field. So you can create that bounding box, and when a vehicle comes on, you can get that notification and respond appropriately, right? Not, and then another thing is, not everything is always criminal or safety. It can be operation, right? We've had a customer that had a warehouse, and in their warehouse, they won't, you couldn't bring a forklift into certain areas, right? Well, we classify a forklift as a vehicle, so you can create that bounding box, and that's an educational moment, right? Where you're able to go in and review and say, well, we shouldn't have had the forklift there, right? And you're not supposed to drive over it. So you can get those types of alerts. Another scenario that comes to mind is like this concept of like, maybe you're always supposed to have 2 individuals, right? Because we count those objects in a scene. So if there's ever somebody that's unattended, right, in an area where there should always be 2 people, that can be an alert, right? So you're able to just have all this contextual information that's happening in a scene. You just need to have an understanding of what's operational or physical security and risk averse to improve your responses, and do that in near real time.
And are there any, if there's individuals on this call, maybe just recently deploying this system or thinking about deploying it, are there any recommended best practices or tips that you would recommend they consider for deploying this type of solution?
Yeah, I think, one of the things that I've always tried to convey to customers is video is a great application, but I want to understand the job that you're trying to accomplish specifically for that device and that location, right? And if we can distill that down to understand why you want to view those areas, that's where you're able to ask more curious questions about, what's the application for that particular camera. So, I've, as a salesperson or as an educator, I've had a lot of customers where I'm like, is that really the best use of your investment, right? Maybe this other area, because you're still going to make this investment and put it in a better area. So I just say, really think about what you're trying to accomplish with each device or camera, and then do some test shots to verify, that it's going to work well for you. I mean, that's the biggest thing, right? And always ask questions. I mean, I'm not afraid to look. I ask silly questions when I'm with customers. So
I have a question. It's Susan here, Jen. I was wondering if you could share any insights on new future development and enhancements.
Yeah, so there's a lot of future developments and enhancements that are happening, right? And what I mean by that is that, with cloud applications and Unity coming out in the near future, what you're going to see is, and I don't have the ability to do it, is weapons detection. So weapons detection is anything that's brandished. So you'll be able to receive alerts and alarms around brandished weapons detection. So that's something that's new and will be coming, and we'll be actually showcasing that at GSX. I'm not sure if you're going to make it to that security event, but that's another one. And there's some other things related to just the way in which, again, it's not analytics, but it's decision management and being able to import, export, tag, and manage all of that information in a consistent workflow. You'll see that also at GSX. I talked a little bit about it from the alarm tab perspective. Motorola and Avigilon have a whole ecosystem that's available. So, but from an analytics perspective, one of the newest technologies that's coming is going to be that weapons detection. So brandished weapons detection, and it does need to be
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool. Well, everybody, we are kind of at time. So for anyone that needs to drop off, I want to thank you very much for coming. We're really happy that you were able to join us. I did put in the chat a link to our survey. So if you could take just a couple seconds to quickly fill that out, that gives us a little information to make sure we are hitting our targets and providing you with information that you want to hear. And for those that are engineers or people that have needs for continuing education, we will be sending out a certificate of attendance. And as Jeremy mentioned, you know, we like to get out on site with our customers and take a look at what you've got. So, hey, if you've got a system and would like to spend some time reviewing it to really optimize what you have, let us know. Please reach out, contact your senior account executive, or you can contact us at salessupport@abscosolutions.com. We'd be happy to set up that meeting with either our team and or with Jeremy. And last but not least, we're going to continue talking about Avigilon Unity. In October, late October, we're going to do another webinar that focuses in on access control with Art Weeks, Jeremy's counterpart with Motorola. And he is an access control guru. So we hope that you can join us for that. We'll be sending out invitations here shortly towards the end of this month. And if there are any more questions, you can certainly feel free to speak up or throw it in the chat or email your senior account executive. We'd love to help answer anything else you have on your mind.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you all very much for joining. Have a great day.